Amazon Ring security cameras are now using facial recognition. They are calling it familiar faces. Whenever a person buys a cloud-based Amazon product, they are automatically brought into the Amazon Sidewalk network, which includes geospatial data that can track objects in the neighborhood without the need for its own network or GPS module. Amazon Ring security cameras have made a deal with Flock Safety, which will allow the police to more easily gain access to your home security cameras and your neighborhood Amazon Sidewalk network. Flock Safety's founder and CEO, Garrett Langley, whose name just coincidentally translates to Watchtower of the CIA, wants to rid the world of crime.
Crime. It's a complex problem that requires so many people to work together to solve it. And at Flock, it's our mission to eliminate it.
Flock was founded by Langley in 2017 and set their cameras up in a few test cities before the 2020 lockdown, during which setting up Flock cameras all over the nation was considered essential. By 2024, Flock's cameras have been installed across 42 states in over 4,000 cities. At least a third of their initial funding came from Palantir's co-founder Peter Thiel's Thiel Capital. Peter Thiel is also co-founder of Founders Fund, who also invested in Flock Safety. Initialized Capital, another investor, was founded by former Palantir employee Gary Tan. Flock Safety, Amazon Ring, and Palantir all working together to build the surveillance system that nobody asked for.
The reality is, your personal information is out there, exposed and vulnerable. It's on you to protect yourself. That's why we trust and personally use Aura, today's sponsor. Aura does all the heavy lifting to keep you safe online. They take action against these data brokers and companies who are selling your personal information. Going after them directly, you don't have to lift a finger. Aura handles it. But that's not all. Here's where it gets even more serious. Aura doesn't just stop there. They continuously monitor the dark web for any trace of your personal data. If they find your information floating around in places it shouldn't be, Aura will alert you immediately. They'll let you know fast if anyone is trying to use that data to access your credit accounts or even drain bank accounts. And if the worst happens to you, Aura has you covered. They offer up to $5 million in identity theft insurance to help you recover if someone gets a hold of your information and tries to do real damage. Don't wait until it's too late. Head over to our link, aura.com/anonymous, to try Aura free for 14 days. That's plenty of time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed and start protecting you from these threats.
Flock Safety cameras are being used by federal authorities, such as ICE. When this was discovered, the city of Evanston, Illinois, deactivated and terminated their contract. But Flock Safety then reinstalled the cameras on their own dime, and the city is now finding it difficult to get rid of them. Starting in October of 2024, dflock.me provides a public map of automated license plate reader cameras, which are primarily made by Flock Safety. The project is open source, and data is voluntarily submitted by the public. dflock's goal is to promote transparency and provide knowledge about the surveillance infrastructure being quietly built around us. But Watchtower of the CIA, Garrett Langley, says that dflock is a terrorist organization.
Unfortunately, there's terroristic organizations, like dflock, whose primary motivation is chaos. They are closer to Antifa than they are anything else.
Ben Jordan on YouTube has demonstrated how easily these Flock cameras are to hack into. There is practically no security, and they were able to connect to these cameras within seconds by simply pressing a button on the back in a specific sequence. They were able to take full control of these cameras.
First thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and press the button to turn on that police camera. Then press the button on the back a number of times I can't disclose in this video. There she is, the Flock wireless access point. Go on and connect. Send a command to enable ADB. Connect. And now you can connect to the Flock safety device and access its data. Or install whatever the hell you want on it.
The longest part actually is waiting for the hotspot to turn on, but realistically in about 5 seconds. And in fact, with the compute box, you don't need to hit the buttons because the USB-C ports are exposed, so you can just plug in a rubber ducky and then walk away.
A rubber ducky, sometimes referred to as a bad USB, is a USB drive that a computer or device detects as a USB keyboard and then executes scripts called payloads. One can make a device like this for as little as $5. This quite literally raises the limit of how one could use Flock safety devices to their imagination. You can clone or decompile the apps. You could send the video stream data to a remote server. You could use it as a botnet client for malware. You could have it capture Wi-Fi handshake credentials and do middleman or honeypot attacks, or replace or modify captured footage or images.
It's codenamed Titan Point, which we learned from the Edward Snowden documents. And it turned out that this is one of the facilities, one of several, but this is a big one, that was capturing all of our phone calls. You know, they talk about, well, it's just metadata. But metadata is enough, because metadata includes who you're calling, what time, where they are, your location. So you could be totally tracked. And it helps them create that network, which the Patriot Act allows, where if you're a person of interest, anyone you communicate with is automatically a person of interest. And it just is a geometric progression. So when I was doing that episode, I was really just wanted to cover the weird building and, you know, what NSA was doing there, capturing the records. And it just started to get emotional because whenever I can, I just play James Clapper line at Congress, you know, whenever I can, when he's asked, so can you confirm that that NSA is not capturing millions or hundreds of millions of Americans' records? And he says, no, sir, we're not, you know, intentionally, or something like that. And then later he says, well, I told the most truthful, you know, least truthful, whatever it was. And then eventually had to apologize because the Snowden documents revealed they're capturing everything. So it's not just metadata. They were doing whole capture of phone calls, all kinds of stuff. NSA was embedded inside of Google and Yahoo and Microsoft, so that everything on like your Google Drive was accessible. If you look at the PowerPoint, the engineers are so excited they have like emojis and smiley faces, like we got it, we finally got into Google. So that was probably the first episode that got me really thinking, okay, every so often I'm going to do a government corruption, government transparency episode. Try to make it fun, but the point is, you know, do not trust them. They're constantly lying to us. And there's no regard to the Constitution at all. Now, the Patriot Act, for me, it's kind of weird because I'm a New Yorker. I was there for 9/11, and it's very emotional for New Yorkers that were there. Still very emotional. You know, I had a friend who was a fireman there as part of cleanup, and he was a broken man after that, just completely broken. And my brother had friends in one of the towers that came down. So it's close to us. So I remember I was all in with whatever we got to do to get these guys. Mm-hmm. Patriot Act, let's do it. But we kind of expanded the government's powers a lot there. And it seemed like it happened pretty quickly. So you've got 9/11, and the Patriot Act is signed, I think, like October 16th or 20. Like, it was like 4-6 weeks that they got this giant bill together. So either they had some really smart lawyers, or this was kind of hanging around, like, and here's an opportunity to do it. Mm-hmm. And that leads into the 9/11 conspiracy, which kind of makes sense, which I don't go into on my show.
Why don't you go into that?
Because it's a taboo topic, and it's emotionally charged, and the bad guys are the government, and if we learned that 9/11 really was an inside job, I don't know how that doesn't really challenge your patriotism. Now, I consider myself a patriot. I love my country. I don't like the people that run it. I like the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I really like those. And I'm very libertarian, borderline anarchist in a political sense, not like craziness, meaning like I don't think we need much government for anything. Keep us safe abroad, domestically, keep it local. That's kind of how I feel. I think the federal government's way too involved in our lives in every different level.
I'm with you.
But the Patriot Act violates the First Amendment in a few different ways. Free speech is gone. So if you say anything that's considered dangerous or explosive, suddenly you're on a list. And then you can be gag ordered. So that's prior restraint. You can't do that. Then you've got the Fourth Amendment violations, where illegal search and seizure. You can't search through Americans without probable cause. You just can't. But the Patriot Act says you no longer need probable cause. You just need to be relevant. So if you're relevant to an investigation, then we don't need a warrant. We can just look into your files. And this gets renewed time and time again. So it's not a left-right Democrat Republican. They just these are sunset clauses that keep getting re-signed. I forget the numbers offhand, but 215 is certainly one of them. And the Patriot Act is mostly used for finding drug dealers. It's not really used for terrorism. It never really was. We don't really know if it ever stopped anything. And then, the IC and the government will say, well, you don't know because we can't tell you, but we stopped this or that. Well, but did you though? At some point you have to tell us if it worked, because we need to decide if we still want to do this, because you're encroaching on a First Amendment right, our Fourth, our Fifth Amendment, due process, habeas corpus. And I thought this was just supposed to be for like foreign agents. But now if an American is on the phone with someone who's a foreign national, now this American is wrapped up in the Patriot Act. When what should happen is as soon as who's ever surveil foreigners all you want. I don't care. Mm-hmm. Leave my citizens alone. So as soon as you find out, well, all right, this person of interest is on the phone with an American, well, then it stops. Now we have to bring this out of the Patriot Act and put it into our legal system and have a judge look at it and all of that. Not a FISA court rubber stamp, where FISA is like 99.97%. Just get yes, go whatever you got to do. That's another violation of separation of powers. You have no oversight.